Joining me in the studio to X-ray President Tinubu's special broadcast is Dr. George Agbakahi, a public affairs analyst. You're welcome to NTA News.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, let's quickly set the ball rolling. The president this morning addressed the nation after the protest that turned out to be not so pleasant. What do you make of the speech?
Thank you again for having me. I believe the president of this great country, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, made a pretty fantastic speech today. He showed tremendous humility, compassion, and he said he was truly pained by the loss of lives, and wanting destruction of properties, and he did commiserate with families, of individuals that lost their lives. I think he showed a lot of empathy, and I think he really addressed the Nigerian people and particularly the youth, and made them to understand that he had them. He has heard what they said, and that he was going to work, to fulfill their aspiration. He called for dialogue, which he had called for earlier on before this protest, commenced. So I think it was a pretty good speech, and he used that opportunity to discuss, some of the lofty achievements, that his administration had been able to do in the past 14 months.
All right, Dr. Agbakahi, talking about the developmental strides which the president itemized in his special broadcast this morning, he also made some explanations, a long speech since after assuming power. What do you think of some of these arguments and points raised by the president?
Well, I sincerely believe that the president made a pretty compelling argument in respect of some of the achievements of his administration in the past 14 months. He indicated that Nigeria is well aware of where we started from, that the economy was almost like, bleeding before he got in. And in that respect, he was able to, enact bold and prudent policies, such as the elimination of the fuel subsidy, as well as the extrication of the multiple exchange rate to single exchange rate. And everybody in Nigeria is well aware, that Nigeria was losing a lot of money in respect of both the multiple exchange rate as well as the fuel subsidy. It was only full of Nigerians that were benefiting, from all these policies. And then the president also, talked about that his administration in the interim was laying the foundation and structures, for a great economy of this country, and he talked eloquently about some strides like the student loan. Student loan, as we know, is key. Education is the foundation of every society. And it is quite obvious that most Nigerians are unable to, send their children to school. So this student loan is a very key policy. And he indicated that so far, 45.6 billion naira has been put into this student, loan. And it's quite obvious that even students currently are already taking advantage of this student loan. He also talked about the area of infrastructure. The current administration had made a lot of impact in the area of infrastructure. He mentioned the Calabar-Lagos Coastal Highway, which went across about 6 or 7 states. At the same time, he talked about the Badagry-Sokoto Highway, which crossed about 9 states. So these are the areas the president talked about. And he talked about the increase in revenue since he came into office, 14 months ago. That so far, there has been an increase of about, I think, 9.1 trillion naira in the area of revenue, probably because of the blockages that his administration has engaged in, as well as extrication of ghost workers. So a lot has been done. He talked about the issue of the, compressed natural gas, to power transportation in this great country. Talked about the Consumer Credit Corporation, in respect of about 200 billion naira to help Nigerians, acquire essential products. So a lot has been done in this country, and the president spoke about it eloquently to Nigerians.
Okay, many thanks, Dr. Agbakahi. Just your final note now, like maybe just a sentence. What next will you advise both the protesters and government at all levels, since their call for a better governance cuts across all levels? Just one sentence.
Okay. I believe the presidential speech today was very significant, and the president made it abundantly clear to Nigerians, particularly the protesters, that he is ready for dialogue. So it's now incumbent on the protesters to organize their leaders and enter into a dialogue with the government, which I believe in the long run, our president has listening ears. He's a very compassionate person. So I believe in the long run, all these things will be resolved amicably, and Nigeria will become great again.
All right. Many thanks, political and public affairs analyst, Dr. George Agbakahi, for your thoughts on the news.
Thank you very much for having me.